y'all doing tonight? Are you ready for the show?
Are you kidding me?
Get comfortable, folks. You're in for a real show. And now, broadcasting live across the nation, we proudly present to you
Oh, wow. Are you kidding me?
This just in. This just in. This just in. This just in.
Oh, wow.
A brand new sound is sweeping the airwaves, and you're hearing it here first.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Wow.
Come on, folks, let's hear that applause.
Hey everybody, how you doing? We're not going to put ourselves through that anymore. How are y'all doing? How y'all feeling right now? Can I get an amen? Can I get an all right? Can I get an amen? Can I get an all right? Am I choppy now? I think it's just kind of the load of the what have you. Boy, am I at an angle here, huh? Everybody, how you doing? Hey, listen, getting back into doing some readings. Awesome sauce is correct. Boop, boop, boop. Barbecue sauce. By the way, this is way too big for me now, but I'm all right with that, whatever. Hey, just a couple of news and notes. Is it Brenda? Brenda, I think you tuned in. I think you're out here. I got your message. I'm going to look into that. Don't know why that's still going on here. Anyways, we're back. We're hanging. We're doing the thing. We're hanging with the hoop. Right? Am I right? Or am I right? Or am I wrong? Or am I right? So let me make sure that I got my other thing here. So I want to thank you guys for clicking like and subscribe. I want to thank you guys for getting that Renee Macklin Good video out there for me. I really appreciate that. That goes a long way. As you guys know, I'm going to be really kind of pushing this year. I'm going to be making videos on the regular. Monday is going to be a night to join me here. You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? You know what I mean there, Jelly Bean? I am going to... Nope, I don't know. What in the heck fires up with that? We're going to do that. So, no. We're checking out all of the technical things, making sure we're getting through there. Yeah, definitely. Let's get through the winter. Holy shnikes. Let's get through the winter. Right? You know, I think that sometimes we kind of like look at, you know, kind of how we approach things. How do I want to say this? How many of you made a New Year's resolution? Be honest. Be honest. And what was it? What, or at least ballpark. You don't have to be specific, because sometimes you're like, you know, like I don't want to eat the If I cut out the blue M&Ms, I'll cut out most of the M&Ms. I get it. I get it. I'm trying to find my thing. And by the way, most of my classes, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, I've taken to the step of talking about understanding topics, like understanding bereavement and understanding intuition, which, by the way, tomorrow night, you can jump on a free class. How you guys feel about that? You guys like free classes? You like to kind of like hang out with me? It's kind of fun. Tomorrow night, if you go to www.tbrandonruss.com, and by the way, I recognize a whole bunch of yous here, right? And, read more, scrolling less. Yeah, I'm even going to say think more. Think more. Apply things. My resolution to live more authentically. Yeah. Listen, it's where we start to kind of find ourselves is when we go through it, whatever that means. I don't care what that means for you, going through it. For me, I don't sugarcoat things here. Losing mom was a thing. And losing my gallbladder, it was a thing. And then I also realized how many times, so this is one of my epiphanies. I've been sick for a while. Like, the more that I think about it, the more I'm like, holy free holies. Like, I was not doing good. I just wasn't doing good. And I think because of that, I struggled a lot. And I made some boneheaded choices. I don't want to say I was doing anything I shouldn't have been doing, but I certainly wasn't doing things to my capacity. I think I shared this in a few other times where I talked about how, after shows, I had to get home. I had to get to sleep, right? Good to see you too, Lenny. But I also realized that, like, some of the people I was asking for help without saying help, they weren't helping me. And people that knew something was up were trying to help me, but they didn't know how. And I give both sides credit, because what's yours? What do you have to deal with? What are you managing? What are you doing? So I get the flow and I get the whatever, but I'm also starting to realize that, you know what? I was also getting rid of people. Right? And I think last year was very much 3 profound hurdles. The first one was I lost mom. Okay. This is what it is. I was doing the work. I was focused in on that. I had to put a lot of effort into that for a lot of reasons. Number 2, then when I lost the gallbladder, it was like, this is an inside to retool the inside. By the way, I'm not quite at like 42 pounds anymore, 38 pounds. I'm closer to like 32 pounds down. But this time, I'll keep it off. Yeah, that's interesting. It was your Hunger Games. I kind of feel that way without, but I didn't know I was in the middle of the Hunger Games. But there was something else that I lost, and I didn't realize it until the Minneapolis shooting. And let's just call it what it is. It was a murder. And again, I don't, the misinterpretation and where you're being aligned with right now is, well, you don't support police officers. The fuck I don't. Am I at the 10-minute mark? Well, I missed that again. Because when I tell you the last thing that I lost, you're going to go, oh, all right. Not only do I support the police, but they have me on speed dial to help them. And I do the vast majority of the time. There's times that I can't. But when you do work for missing persons, when you are asked by families, when you are asked by other officers, when you are everything else, I support them tenfold. Like there's nobody that I've helped that wouldn't say I help. When you're in the parking lot at your son's birthday party, helping them find someone, you're committed to the bit, right? So it was, I don't know how anyone could have looked at that video and thought to themselves, well, she shouldn't have done that. Well, there shouldn't have been ice there, and there shouldn't have been people drawing their firearms. And that guy, the person that shot them, that was standing in front of the car that was being driven towards, which it wasn't, should have never been in front of her car in any in anything of de-escalation. As an officer, as anybody remotely trained, would have never approached the vehicle from the fucking front, because guess what? That's where it's heading. You always assume that every microphone is live. You assume that every firearm is loaded, and you assume every single vehicle is in drive. Those are the 3 safety tips that have gotten me this far. Why that man would go anywhere near the front of a headlight is beyond me. Now, she shouldn't have been there. She was on her way to go pick up her kid. They turned her around. By the way, the 8 minutes beforehand was her having a conversation with an officer saying, "You got to get out of here." She goes, "What are you guys doing here?" He goes, "Listen, I get it, but you got to go. You're duly noted, but please don't be here." And she said, "You know what? I'm going." And he was like, "All right." That's what I asked. And guess what? She was doing a 20-point turn because she didn't have any room. She let the other car go ahead of her, and then the ice prick comes up. You saw the video. And that's kind of my point, Trish. She kind of nailed it. Get Golden Light. By the way, start following her. She's got some videos coming. So, listen. We live in a world where there are people in this world that are hurting and they want to see other people hurt. Right? It is that simple. It's just that simple. There are people in this world that have nothing to do with this, but their opinion is about how do we get, if you're going to be a liberal, or you're going to get in the way of law enforcement, or if you're going to whatever, if you're going to align yourself with Tim Walz, if you're going to whatever, they automatically can't wait to tell you how much you're broken by thinking that the human condition was somehow not compromised. It was so beyond compromised. Again, I don't care if I'm talking about Ukraine. I don't care if I'm talking about malicious files. I don't care if I'm talking about islands. I don't care if I'm talking about a changing room in a department store. The person that is hurting the other person, to me, is wrong. And by the way, I don't care what you're into. I don't care with whatever. Right? Yeah, I'm going to get to that too. But there is an and then to be accused, it's so funny. There were actors ready to go right away. Well, I'm going to tell you, about a year ago, I remember this because I was going through something with somebody, and I just needed to kind of shed some space. It's probably late February. And this is right after, no, it was in the spring. It was in the spring because I remember, because I think I was wearing just the shirt. And I found out that ICE, I was driving, and I just see these black SUVs on the side of the road by this bridge, and I'm like, you got to be shitting me. This is early on in the nonsense too. And I go and I do my stuff. I go to the store I need to go to. I come back and they're sitting there. And I pulled over and I said, I'm seeing something. And by the way, I'm going to say this without compromising anything. I have a dual obligation to report anything. So don't go confessing anything to me outside of the parameters in which I'm helping it. Get it? So if I see something, I am obligated to say something, right? So I pull over and I ask the question. I said, hey, how you doing? Hell of a day. Isn't it beautiful out here? Ya, cha, cha. And he says, you don't need to be here. And he had his shiny glasses on and he had his Ascot, and I said, I'm sorry, I read lips. You know what I was doing. By the way, I do read lips. And then sure enough, after about 5 minutes, I said, what are you doing here? I said, is this a stakeout? Because you guys are so out in the wide open. You are not doing anything undercover here. And he said, if you know it's good for you, you're going to move on. And I said, if you know what's good for you, you're going to ask a good question before you start assuming. And then I identified myself. And then he said, this is not your business. And they were there to harass people walking over a bridge. And they were walking over the bridge from a city that has some challenges. There are parts of a city across the water from us that are just, they're rough, right? Low income, whatever. And so much of interesting, Janet. Yeah, so I mean, we don't do any mental health checks, of course. Of course, he would be gunslinging, but you know, the interesting thing, and it de-escalated. The news was there. The news eventually got there, and I had called, you know, I called it in, and I called to the people that I'm supposed to call things like that into, and I said, I don't know if there is, and I used the T word. I said, I don't know if these guys are the good guys or not the good guys, because I've never learned that people with face coverings and shady glasses and darkened windows with unmarked vehicles are ever the good guy. I mean, this isn't a Schwarzenegger film. This isn't, Sly Stallone isn't saying, I'm here to bring back law and order. Right? I'm not curious to see how they're going to harass people. And they harassed about a half a dozen people. By the way, that bridge is famous for homeless people to stay on the move. So they move from one town to the other. So the police on either side of the bridge don't keep too much of a tab on them. It's also my favorite place to hand them money, because it's literally 4 blocks from my house. And the part of it that I think that there's a challenge in all of this it wasn't my experience. It was, and it's not simply that someone lost their life senselessly. I mean, the one thing that you can say is that if she was hell-bent on hurting people with her vehicle, do you think she was going to do it at 4 miles an hour in a U-turn? Like, nothing that they say is logical. Nope. If she had a pact to take out people, she would have gotten a running start. She would have been pedal to the metal. She would have been, there's just, none of it makes sense. She was trying to turn around. By the way, who 8 minutes earlier had another ICE officer tell her, get out of here. She's like, oh, well, I can't go that way. And he says, that's right, you got to turn around and leave. And one of the challenges that I think that we're really facing right now is watching people defend it with the talking points that aren't reality. She was trying to hit him. No, she wasn't. She shouldn't have been there. They shouldn't have been there. She needs to follow orders. She was following the direction. Was she giving them a light dust assault? She sure shit was. I know I did. We live in a world where a convicted felon is running our business. Step one. You know, we're arguing over ICE. We should be arguing over the White House. We should be arguing over a 34. And that's the funny thing. It's like, you know, I posted this picture on my personal Facebook, which, by the way, I'm pretty easy with my friendship list. And it was a guy playing the drums outside of the Hilton that a lot of the ICE, constituents, I don't know what they are. I'm not going to call them police. I'm not going to call them soldiers. He was outside playing drums at 1:00 in the morning, and I thought that was just spot on for anti-disestablishmentarianism. If you don't know what that word is, it's the longest word in the English language, and what it means is fuck you, ICE. Like, it might as well say anti-disestablishmentarianism is the polite sensibilities in which you say, I understand what the rules are, but for whatever reason, I'm going to stand up against them. Maybe physical, maybe for moral reasons, maybe for physical inability reasons. Like, I understand what you're asking me to do, but I am not going to do it. So you understand the establishment, but you also understand why it's wrong. And then you're actually against the idea that it exists in the first place. That is what anti-disestablishmentarianism means. And that post to me was like the perfect song. Because, change the world with music. Am I right or am I right? And one of the challenges that I'm seeing, first of all, I go into the tank for a couple of months. And let's be honest, I let a lot of things slip last year. My YouTube channel dropped, this, that, and the other things. Like, all right, okay. It's there when I need it. But then I started to realize that it was the same people commenting. It was the same people that, back over the summer or even in the spring, like, I've really let it just be like, we'll do shuffle up in heels. I'm not doing, and this is why Trump will do something dastardly this week. Just assume he's going to assume the gun is loaded, assume the microphone's on, assume the car is in drive, assume Donald J. Trump will do something fucking stupid today. Oh, by the way, just to amp things up, Germany and France have deployed ships to protect Greenland. I am so pro-military, I don't want them in an unnecessary war. Hey, Melanie, how are you? Yeah, I think Elaine's kind of nailing it. Like, you got to be a special kind of angry to want to go and just be like, we're going to, what's the job? Oh, I have to round up people that, and let's go back to the source of the problem. Source of the problem is that we aren't organized enough to have our court system process people in an appropriate and timely manner. We're the ones in violation of their rights. And then you want people to go round them up? Elaine is like, she nails it. Like, they're all jerk. You've got to be a special kind. You're not solution bound. And if you think your solution is to round them up and get them out, I don't get it. And by the way, this is the same thing that when Democrats at the end of Biden's term went to Congress and said, we have a 4-tiered solution plan. We're going to give you the wall. We're going to pay for it, but we want to have a court system every 200, every 47 miles or whatever it was, so that we can actually do due process along the way. And the former Trump administration and that sycophantic, legislature just said, no, we can't approve that. Go back, check the records. These guys don't want this. They want chaos. They want an opportunity to say, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. By the way, zero reports of any cats or dogs being eaten. Well, do you think that they're gonna brush it under? Don't be such a Tim Walz. That's my new favorite thing. So deciding for ourselves that we have to be the moral compass when the country has lost its way. That's the big adjustment for you, by the way. No one's coming to save you. One of my favorite movies that I watch this time of the year is Miracle. I remember the fantastic, amazing moment where the U.S. as an underdog beat the Russians, beat the USSR. It wasn't even just Russia, it was the USSR. So they weren't just recruiting Russians, they were recruiting Lithuanians and Estonians and Latvians, Azerbaijan, not that they have a big hockey program down in the desert, but they were pulling on much more than just them, and they had a paid Olympic team. Meanwhile, they're like, no, we don't pay them, but that they paid their housing, they paid their stipend, they paid their whatever. And then here's the bunch of the U.S. things that are basically running on an IOC budget, of about $100,000 a year, which is nothing to run a program like that. And then it was the donations of people to be kind to the players and get them on board, and the athletes. Just all of it. All of it was us versus them. And us here in a capitalistic society, we're actually on the back end of it versus a state-funded thing. People don't actually talk about the irony of how the USSR was a communist country at the time, and they were providing everything they needed for their athletes, including steroids, but we won't get into that right now. But what was interesting is that, through that conflict, you take the coach of Herb Brooks, who has his history. He was the last alternate on the 1960 Olympic team before the USSR said, we're going to win every Olympic from here on in. And the US won 1960. And Herb Brooks had to put together a team with no money, no stipend. And he didn't pick, he didn't look at the box scores of all the NCAA hockey teams and say, send me your top scorer from each one of your schools and let's see if it'll happen. Give me 5 goalies, and whoever performs the best during that time, the 2 of you will go. What happened was he navigated the politics, the underdog status, in the division from within. The reason why I watch that movie every year at about this time, part of it's nostalgia. I'll never forget, I was, 1980. I was 7 years old. And I watched it like between the U.S. Hockey Olympic team, Eric Heiden, in speed skating. I also watched, I had a soft spot for Klaus. He was like Klaus Mendelson. I just loved his name. And he was a West German long jumper. Don't ask me. I was 7 years old. I was fascinated with weird shit. But I also understood the dynamic that I knew the gravity of beating a Russian team. And I can't explain why I knew it, because I've searched for this. We were taught they were the bad guys. We taught that they were evil. We taught that they were whatever. Where in reality, over time, I learned that the people weren't the problem. People aren't the problem. The structure, the cheating, the things that were tipped in their balance, the power struggle, the perceived power structure. That's what the enemy was. A Russian person, and by the way, I learned this years later when I worked with a whole bunch of Ukrainian immigrants who fled Kiev because they were exposed to radiation and came to the US for not only treatment, but for a new way of life, because their home was whatever. And I got to know them. And I'm like, Ukraine, where's that? And by the way, I'm a fairly well-read person, but when it came to like Russian history, I was just, the only thing I was taught was they were bad, right? Just like when you learn about Lincoln, all you do is you hear about the Emancipation Proclamation. What they don't tell you is that he was directly related to, and if not the direct cause of, the Trail of Tears years later, because of some of his political moves. He was literally choosing to free slaves and subsequently agreed to the massacre of every Native American on land. All of a sudden, Abraham Lincoln became a very complicated person when I learned that. He was no longer Star Spangled Awesome, right? Well, I told you that story to tell you this one. I didn't know much about Ukraine. I kind of knew it was part of the USSR. I kind of knew, but I didn't know anything about their history, right? It's just like I kind of knew about slavery and I kind of knew about the civil rights movement until I was in Memphis and I went to the Civil Rights Museum and I stood next to where Martin Luther King had been shot, literally, where I read the stories about how, Rosa Parks didn't just resist in the moment. She started an economic, like, collapse because not only did she say no, she said no to anybody that supported that. So these are real lessons coming to roost, right? So I remember I talked to one woman, and I think I had the empathy level at the time. But the thing I remember is I asked them the question, and we'd sit around, we eat lunch. It was one of these jobs that I only planned to work for like a couple of weeks. It was in between. It was right before ice cream season. It was before the ice cream truck kicked off. They just needed a couple of bucks to get from here to there. And if there was one thing that's in my chart, and I do, and that is work. And we would sit out back, on the picnic tables. It's like 52 degrees out, so it's like, fresh air, let's get out here. And that's when I began to learn some of their stories. And I said, wow, where about? And they're one woman brought in a map, and she showed me, and I said, oh, I know where Ukraine. I mean, you know how I knew where Ukraine was? I used to play Risk. Thank you, Parker Brothers. Right? And when I started to recognize that, boy, she's been on a journey, and I asked the question, I said, so why did you leave? And she says, well, because of Chernobyl. And I said, that was in Russia. She goes, it was in Kiev, it was in Ukraine. It was however many kilometers. She always spoke in kilometers. That's how you know if they're a spy or not. Just joking. But she had this like wonderful way about her, and she had very thin hair. Her name was Lindia, but everybody called her Lil. Not Lilith, Lil. And her daughter worked there. Her daughter was very undersized. Like, they all had been affected by radiation. And her breath was awful. Like, it was awful. If we were this far away, you'd be like, how's it going? And again, I don't know what treatment she was under, but she definitely had exposure. And she said, and I asked her, I said, what do you miss the most? And she says, my husband, who, by the way, died from radiation poisoning, had just gotten a job at an amusement park that was set to open, or had just opened. And when he was working when Chernobyl happened, so they were finishing getting things ready. And when they realized what was going on, by the way, the Russian government, the Ukraine government, didn't tell the people that Chernobyl had been leaking for almost 5 days. And I remember this, it was May 1st to May 5th is when they actually told them. And I remember looking at the astrology. I had to do an astrology thing on that again, because I think we're at 40 years. I think if we're at 26, I think that was 86. I could be wrong, but here we are. And anyways, I said, what do you miss the most? She said, well, I was so hopeful because my husband finally had a job he loved. He was a mechanic and he worked on amusement park machines. And I said, wow. I said, what would you go back and visit? She goes, and I, of course, I fucking, I don't know anything. Right? Excuse my French, but I don't know anything. And I said, well, you could probably go back there someday. She says in about 140 years. And then I'm like, you could make it. Maybe you'll get bit by a radioactive spider. Like, I'm just, you guys know me. I don't know what to say. And she says, you know what I really missed? There was a bakery. And they had stone. They had stones. They cooked it by the heat of the stones. And it was ceramic. And the way she described it, she goes, nobody else does that. And she also, that's where I really learned the tie between Ukraine and Poland. You know, they're essentially the same people. They're just in two different locations. And having found that, I never put two and two together. But, you know, there was a spot in the city that I still live in, and now I actually live on the island in Cahoes, that is very Polish and very Ukrainian. I didn't realize how Ukrainian it was. And again, they have, you know, they have Russian Orthodox Church. They also have Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church does Polish Mass. And anyways, there used to be a bakery there called Golden Crust. And I walked in, I knew I was leaving. I knew I was going to ice cream truck it and whatever. And I went into this Golden Crust and I said, listen, I work with some Ukrainian people. And, you know, I'm leaving and I want to give them a gift. And then, you know, they pull up the donuts. They go, get them some pancakes, get them some pancakes. And I go, listen, the last thing I need is donuts, all right? So I get a dozen of those. And she hands me 2 loaves of bread, and she said she will know one of these two, if not both. One of them was like a fennel bread, which I didn't care for. But the other one was this very, very cool, not bread. Get it? Not bread. You know, and I'm like $20 into this, $15 into this. It was the early 90s. It was probably 92, 93. And I brought them the bread. And I'm looking around, and Lil wasn't there. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll leave. And it was a Friday too, so I'm like, shit, you know, how am I going to do this? He always worked on Friday, guys. That was when they handed out the checks. And I asked around, I go, where is she? Where's Lil? Where's her daughter Mary? Her husband worked there off and on. I said, what's going on? And they were like, yeah, her daughter was coughing up blood, so they took her to the emergency room. I'm like, that was their reality. And my takeaway on this is a handful of things. Number one, once I met them, very nice people. Do I want to hang out with them all the time? Nah. No, I mean, the breath thing was a thing. But what she gave me was invaluable, because she talked about how, you know, these things are here, but that's not there. We only have 2 radio stations. That was the thing that really got me. You know, they actually had blockers in the mountains to stop radio waves from like going over the mountains. So they never got like German radio. They never got French radio. They never heard the outside world, which I thought was, well, I'm like, really? And some of the other parts of it too, that when she would talk about it, it was very, I mean, the picture she painted was very much like the United States. She said, you know, a lot of us lived in what would be like, quote unquote, government housing. You know, she was describing what we would think is, you know, the projects or something. But she's like, you know, you could make it your own because that was yours for the duration of however long you lived there. And if you wanted to move, you had to go through a process. They had to make sure that it was cleaned up. They were basically your landlords. You know, but here I am being completely ignorant, going, yeah, you can go back to Chernobyl. I mean, what? But she was the one that told me she wore sunflowers. And I didn't know anything about sunflowers. I was just like, oh, that's her thing. That's her jam, right? And she was the one that told me. She said, yeah, they realized that if they, hopefully I can get back there in my lifetime. And they dumped so many sunflower seeds, and they do it every year. And I did not know this until she told me. The sunflower, and it's a particular kind of sunflower, but any variety will do it. But one in particular is really, really strong with it. It literally absorbs radiation. And it doesn't quote kill it, but it alters it, which is why you have to keep planting the seed. And now there's a sunflower forest in Ukraine that's, they did the circle of the couple of kilometers all the way around, Chernobyl. And she wears a sunflower, and I said, wow, that's really cool. That's super cool. And I don't want to leave you hanging, but her husband actually came in for their check. I go, can I just leave this here for her and just know that I brought it? And he goes, oh, well, I think they're going to come in because I got to get their check. And I go, that's cool. And I didn't know, my elbow from my ass at that point, but I made sure that they also had another envelope. And I said, hey, guys, why don't we? This isn't going to be good for them. Right? And, by the end of it, and by the way, everybody there was sketch. Like my sketch was I had hair out to here, hair down to there, and living on a prayer. I was in a couple of bands at that point, I think, and driving an ice cream truck. I was just ahead of the law all the time, right? I was like my own Raymond Reddington. And everybody there was sketch. And, one of the guys who I think was there on like a work release thing, who, by the way, took one look at me and said, what are you in for? Like, I don't know. I need a job. Anyways, he said, hey, I stole this from somebody and I got to get it clean. Why don't you give it to Lil? He hands me like a 50 or something. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't that much, but it was enough to whatever. And then that just kind of, I said, hey, why don't we, pull it together? And we did. I don't know how much it was. It doesn't matter. But what was funny was I ran into Lil about 3 years later, and she lost her daughter. Her daughter had some serious issues. And I saw her, and I saw her like across the way, and I'm like, how? I saw her. Oh, I'm going to tell you where I saw her. I saw her in a place called Lechmere's. And by the way, I just went full 1990s retail on you. I'm in Lechmere's. It's Christmas. She was buying a Santa that most normal people would not have celebrated. It was a little, like he was like Snarl, like he just got off a pirate ship, and he goes, "Hey, the Drake Pirate Santa." Like it just looked weird. Anyways, it matched her breath. I mean, I got to give her that. But anyway, so she saw me, I saw her, and she came over, and I gave her a hug, and I said, "Did you get the bread?" And she goes, "You mean the loaf of bread?" I said, "Yeah, the loaf of bread." And she said, "It was amazing." And she discovered Golden Crust because of that, which then she found more community and more whatever. And she told me the bad news. And she said, my husband's not doing well, but I'm still doing great. I feel good, got a clean bill of health, whatever. And I said, well, I'm glad you stuck it out. I'm glad you ended up here. I go, of all the places in the world you could have ended up, you ended up in my backyard, and I'm happy you were here. And she laughed, and she goes, of course you're going to say that to me. Oh, and by then I got my haircut. She didn't recognize me right away. Will you recognize me when I get my haircut? By the way, I had to alter some of that schedule, so it's still coming, but I have to push it off a little bit for some reasons. My whole donation of my hair thing. So hope you like it for a little bit longer. Anyways, how the hell did I get on this topic today? Oh, we're all the fucking same. Can we quit dividing us? I mean, listen, I don't care if you're in Ukraine or you're in Waterville or you're in Portland, Oregon. We're all kind of the same. And we get mad at stuff. We find joy in things. And we like music, and there are things that we can all agree on, and there are things that we can all disagree on. That's what makes us us. But I can't stand the idea that there is a power shift in this world that makes where my tax dollars go into dividing people's reality. I can't, I said this when the Ukraine war broke out. I know that Ukraine's not innocent. By the way, their favorite technique is to smear. Well, don't think that they were innocent. Nobody's innocent. And the more divided we are, good call, Cindy, the more divided we are, the easier it is for them to carry the money back to the bank. It's that simple. Follow the energy, follow the money. I just got into a pissing contest with somebody on the internet because guess what, everybody? I'm back. Gets my chops clean. And I don't purposely go out of my way to disagree with people, but that drumming picture, boy, have I gotten a response on that, huh, everybody? There's somebody that was on there that I, connected to and had a friendship with a little bit. And I didn't put two and two together until I pulled up his profile. I was like, who is this freaking tool? And he's basically saying, I for one 100% agree with them shooting somebody that got in the way. I'm like, well, thank goodness we're in the United States of America and you have the freedom to say stupid things. And then I looked a little bit closer, and he touts himself as an angelic healer. The charlatans have got to go. I talk to dead people. I cannot tell you how to quantifiably tell you what I know. I cannot tell you that it's 100% foolproof and scientific at the end of the day. I cannot tell you anything except for the fact that I'm damn good at it, and I'm meant to do this. And when I see somebody call themselves an angelic healer and type out the words, I 100% agree with her being shot in the face. Oh, I have a new personal interest in them not doing light work. Like, you're not doing light work. And by the way, I'm not saying you can't be empathetic to say, like, I know some police officers, and I know that that's not the intention of that. I know that that's not how police officers work generally. But I'm going to support the blue. I'm going to back the blue. We don't have to have this conversation again. They're not the blue. They're the brute squad, right? Jim Lambertson has entered the chat. I miss you, buddy. Yeah, it does all start there. I agree with you. And the idea that this guy touts himself as, so then I'm going through the memory banks and I go, how did I even connect with this guy? And I look at the friends list because that's what I do. I'm like, how do I know this person? And by the way, I have a bunch of people that I was in the music scene with, and they're just staunch Trumpers. And I'm going to tell you that their mental, I can't take you seriously if I know that you just did lines off a toilet. Sorry, we're not the same. We're just not the same, right? And understanding that some people are just going to be stuck in that, like, I get it. I know we just have to tolerate certain behaviors and certain mental capacities. There, I said it. Some people that aren't able to emotionally evolve to a point to be able to say, like, I understand what you're saying. And listen, they can still have that. They can still reserve their point of view, but understanding and respecting enough the other side. They just can't do it. They just don't have the wherewithal, right? But we have to get really savvy at being positive. We have to get really savvy about pointing out the legitimacy of what we say. We don't need to be told by Christy Nome what we just watched. We know what we just watched. Oh, you showed me another angle? Guess what? You just showed me the last 4 seconds of her life where she was giving the ICE officer shit for being in her way. You made me more endeared to her. Oh, and I also want to say something about the money that she raised and that she shut it off at 1.5. Her wife. And by the way, I got some things factually wrong in that. And by the way, thank you so much to the people that couldn't wait to tell me I was wrong. It moved pretty quick. And by the way, has anyone else read her poem? I'm waiting. Oh, Eric Von Daniken, 100%. I'm actually going to be doing a class on Eric Von Daniken. So let me show you this. Is today the 12th? Should probably be around, huh? Two things. One, you're invited. I'm going to put it in here again. You know, hey, maybe you can put a name to the face of some of the people that are sitting there going, yay, B. Or, oh, that stinks. Or, hey, Jim. You'll get a Zoom link. It'll be going out first thing tomorrow morning. By the way, you're going to get it. If you're already signed up for this or the next thing I'm about to talk about, you are going to be getting an email tonight with a video. Do adhere to it. I am asking you to bring a deck of playing cards. Now, as you know, I have an obscene sense of humor. And by the way, we're going to be doing an exercise because I'm going to also be talking about this right here. Oh, wow. I did have it right there. Oh, yeah, there we go, the class. On the 27th, and 2 more weeks after this, we start the class of intuitive development, 10 weeks of love. Don't need the cameras on. Turn them off. I want you to check out how I teach. That's actually what I'm going to be doing tomorrow night. But I'm going to be talking about that class, kind of going over the syllabus and the itinerary. But I want you to bring a deck of playing cards. By the way, do you like my comically huge deck of cards? It's kind of reminds you of a tarot deck, really. I'm going to say the 4 of clubs. I'm going to say, oh, I'm getting a face card. I'm going to say Queen of Diamonds. Now 4 of Diamonds. Yeah, warming up. What about, this is an 8. I keep getting diamonds, but I actually don't think it's a diamond. This is an 8 of something, right? Son of a bitch. Oh, there's the, hold on a second. Is this the 8? No. 8675309. If you're keeping track of them. Anyways, we're going to be doing an exercise because in this upcoming class series, we're going to be doing a ton of exercises. By the way, those that have taken this before, this is a little different. It's very exercise driven. And we're going to discover things like our soul family. We're going to be talking about things like numerology, how signs really kind of help us along. We're going to be talking about tools of the trade. We're going to do some sections within tarot, within dowsing rods, pendulums, help you understand how they work, and then have resources for you down the road. We're going to talk about crystals. We're going to talk about, what else are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about divine intervention. We're also going to talk about your chakras. And I'm going to have things along the way that you can take other classes that'll help you really enhance it. Hang on, Brandon's got you. One of the fun things that people don't realize about me is that I'm really kind of sort of a professional teacher. You know, I've taught college level classes on intuition, and I decided to kind of roll some of the things that I showed them into this. And listen, we get together on Tuesday nights. It's 7 to 8:30. I don't like super long classes. But also when you get involved with the evening class, you'll also get the weekly B. I have the weekly B tomorrow. And again, if you're already in the weekly B or you've signed up for the class already, you're going to get an email with the link for tomorrow. I just have to finish. I haven't quite figured out which one I'm going to do first, but I'm going to have the topic tonight before I leave. And you don't have a deck of playing cards? Go look in your junk drawer. Everybody has one. All right, I'm going to try this again. We're going to do this. I'm going to go like this. And then I'm going to go Jack of Diamonds. damn it. Oh, but I pulled that 7 again, huh? Jack of diamonds. Jack of diamonds. Jack. 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 I got a fucking pinochle deck. Jack. 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 Anyways, I'm having fun. Hope you're having fun too. But I'm going to actually do an exercise that you're going to be able to teach yourself how to do it. By the way, you know, it's like one of my things. Like, oh my God, is this thing on? God, I'm not even getting a face card out of this. Huh. By the way, never cheat at these exercises because it doesn't do you any good. Right? Maybe an ace. Or an 8. See what I did there? I quit. And you'll quit too by the end of the 3rd week. No, I'm only kidding. But do bring that. We'll do an exercises class. We'll have a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. Those of you that have taken classes before know it's a good time. If you haven't done it before, please join us tomorrow night. tbrandross.com. Just sign up. I just saw 2 of you signed up right now. Awesome. I'm going to be sending stuff out. Jack shit. This is why I don't like Virgos right here. Go ahead, take a look at this. This is why I don't. By the way, you're getting the first read tonight, jerk. By the way, is this what I'm doing here? Or is this what I'm doing here? Yep. We got this. I also want to tell you Pages and Cups. If you haven't gotten it already, read it. You're getting yours later. Pages and Cups, get the Pages journal. You're gonna want this if you're gonna follow along down the road, right? Also, is that this weekend? What is the date? The 17th. Huh? All right. I'm going to be talking about how to publish your book. So if you're curious at all or you know anybody, oh, we're busting Rachel's balls because you know she's got them in a jar somewhere, but she's got them. So if you're anywhere in the Capital District, the Cohoes Library, which we support wholeheartedly, to discuss the steps on how to get pre and post production and then how to actually sell it a little bit. By the way, you guys do know that I'm an Amazon bestseller, right? Follow me, I got you. But if you can't make that, reach out to me if you're curious and want to get your stuff together. What am I doing here? All right, are we good? Are we good? Are we good? Can we do one of these? Oh. Here we go. Hey, that would have been my grandmother's 100th birthday, 117. No kidding. Today is my grandfather's 101st birthday. My dad likes to send me fun facts. And that was his fun fact of the day. Grandpa would have been 101. Right? Yeah, we got a couple of stuck in here. It doesn't matter. We'll mix them up. We'll do it right. All right, Rachel. Because you asked for it politely, I have a feeling I have like other cards in here. Yeah, like right here. Take that out. I didn't clean up after. But the Oracle decks, you don't really have to clean up and shuffle up too much. I do look like a shitstorm right now, though. Good Lord. Do you do anything, Brandon? It's kind of like when you go to like cook and you're like, I'm going to prepare for you tonight. Woo! Dirty dishes. That's what I feel like right now. That's why you serve wine with it. So you go, would you like the Chateaubriand? Not all. I don't know if I'm speaking French or I'm saying wax on, wax off. Do appreciate my sense of humor. I appreciate it. All right. By the way, the Snoopies are good and shuffle because I've gone and dropping them all over the place. All right, guys. So we're gonna do the answer call technique with the 2 different tarot decks. We're gonna be using the Rider-Waite Tarot. We're also gonna be using the Snoopy Tarot. A lot of fun here. We're gonna have a good time. It is a good time. Thank you so much, everybody. All right, so much for tuning in. Hope to see you on the free stage tomorrow. Hope you sign up for it. And by the way, always have reasonable ways to do this. And by the way, Forgot to do this before I got off. You can still get the original discount if you sign up right now, but after this, I'm actually going to turn it into a 20% off. Just letting you know, got to have rules somewhere. Somewhere. By the way, when you sign up for the intuitive development class that's on Tuesday nights, you will also be getting the weekly bee as well during the course of that. Isn't that kind of cool? Oh, I like the pink glove. Katie, stick around. I have to take care of some business here with Miss Rachel. By the way, we like Virgos. You have to understand my personal aversion to this. My personal aversion to Virgos is I am a solid Pisces. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move this a little bit over. Is that okay? You guys can still see the love sign, right? It's just more comfortable. That I don't have to twist myself so much. By the way, guys, notice I didn't say anything about my health. It's my business, but I'm going to tell you I'm doing great. I'm doing great. That and I have nothing but borderline disgusting things to tell you. Like, things are back to normal. Had some chicken wings last night, and I didn't even burp. Of course, I made them at home. I'm a hell of a cook. But Rachel, she's got to keep her options open here. Everybody. How are we doing this, right? By the way, you can call our good friend Jess anytime you want for a card reading. What you're getting here, this is source documentation right now. Because also with this, Papa was a Rolling Stone. And there's your Virgo card. How am I doing, everybody? Am I doing all right? By the way, we're going to do a one cut here so then you guys don't think I'm stacking anything here. And we're going to do an answer call here. The Two of Wands along with the Chariot means that duality is coming. The world is in your hands. Expect change. Oh, the Six of Cups. This is family abundance. You making a baby. Rachel, so help me God. You're almost out of the woods. They can wash their own ass now. You don't go making another one. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? But it also means creative abundance. It also means that you're stepping into your truth. But this change again, practicing. I fucking love you. Practicing. Would you like to see the Polaroids? That joke was funny in the early 90s, by the way. Now people go, do you want to see the internet? Spiritual growth and happiness. Look at you. What a freaking pull this is. Boom to the boom. Well, good luck with the practicing. I explained the butt dial the other day. So, from the top, you got the world in your hands. The change is coming quick. The King of Wands, along with the Six of Cups. That's practicing. And then the Hermit, along with the Four of Wands, means that you are very satisfied with where you're at in life. Could it be that you could turn the corner and just be happy? Just happy? Do we need to shuffle up and heal after dark? Oh, yeah. So I do have a Karma Sutra tarot, which is... Yeah, it goes there. All right, here we go. Let's do a little illumination. You are already golden. The only person to get this to be better would have been Trish. But look at that. You are golden. Again, these are AI generated. They cleaned them up. I'm okay with this. I'm good. However, the thing I do like about that card and these cards is they're beautiful. They did do enough human interpretation to them. That font's got to be better, but you're already golden. In other words, you already have the don't go looking for value with this change. You already have the value. That's really what this is saying. Because, and by the way, this spiritual path thing with the Hermit card and your happiness is applying that your path is paying off. Does that make sense? I hope. I do hope. By the way, just for measures on me saying that I'm authentic and I am who I say I am. I've just been pinged for an ongoing for assistance. So I put that out there. Here we go. Rachel, have fun with that, would you? Yeah, and kind of putting it together. I think this is going to be a year. Remember when I talked about, like, I think we're 90% there. We just have to tweak. You got a kid. And we're like almost there. And we think we have to blow it up. Don't blow it up. Don't blow it up. I think what you need to do is realize, just know that like 10% is still in flux, right? 10% still needs to be worked on, tweaked, right? Like this show, like I finally got to a point where I'm like pretty good. And by the way, I'm not thrilled with any of the setup, but I know that it works. How many of you are in that spot where you're like, I know this isn't like super duper awesome, but I do know that it works for me, right? And then, we stay dissatisfied, it hits the wall again, and then we don't do anything about it, and then we don't change. And I don't know why I like this phrasing. I was born after a night of family poker. We're going to go up here to the pink hand, though, because you posted it at 8:03. That caught my eye. Hi, Katie. How are you? I'm assuming it's Katie. 8/1/97. So is this August 1st, 1997? Oh, KT Karen T. All right, listen, you don't have to share anymore. Do you know what time you were born? Did we get is that your birth date? Or is that the date that they dropped you back off from your mothership? All our options. By the way, how do you like my new mugs? I got these because like Daryl and I were like swapping like 4 mugs, and then you didn't want to wash one of them. And oh, so that's not even your birthday? All right then. How about some cards though? I don't know how you did that pink glove, but it's kind of cool. Well, the King of Cups says, "How you doing?" So we're going to talk about our mastery of love, and then here comes the sun, George Harrison. Oh, and you are overcoming some anxiety. Leave the reversals, everybody. King of Cups. Oh, yeah. This is you walking away from someplace for your own sanity. More so, I don't know how you did that, but I just dropped that card back in there. Oh, we got double 5s here. Oh, you have worked real. And then the Knight of Cups. Wow. Karen, you might be new here. Let me explain a few things. So the King of Cups, and I'm going to do one of these. You don't need to see. I want you to take a look down here. You see him kind of like holding 2 cups. Well, he's got a scepter and a cup. And he's in control of his own happiness. The 5 of Swords is you saying, F this, I don't have to do it your way. I'm taking what's mine. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. Now, the Sun here, it's kind of like let's all be happy. Is there anything happier than a naked baby on the back of a horse? Can't think of anything right now. But then this guy shows up. And the 5 of Wands is about fighting for your happiness. That combination is kind of like you're ready to do battle for your own sanity. Now, kudos to you. You've overcome some anxiety. Because the Knight of Swords is about what's up in your head. When you look at it upright, it's waking up from a dream. It's 9 swords. It's up in their head. There's also kind of like family stuff going on because of roses and the blanket and the quilt. And then the Knight of Cups comes along. So it goes from the King of Cups to the Knight of Cups. You know what that tells me? tells me that no matter what you're actually kind of going to go through, you're going to realize that love needs to be earned. That you need to work with the dynamics of love, and that you may think that you're happy. Maybe this is signifying being in a relationship that on the outside, everybody's like, oh, Frank is great. He's the best. And then behind the scenes, you're like, yeah, he's asleep in his chair by 7:30. He hasn't touched me in 3 years. And he complains about my cooking every time he opens his mouth. But on the outside, it's the King of Cups. But your own sanity is like, no, I'm gonna come on, Frank, let's go. You fight for that person, you fight for that situation. By the way, if his name is Frank, don't, whatever. But you eventually kind of said, you know what? I'm not gonna put all my energy, the Knight of Swords, into something that I'm not getting anything out of. I'm gonna find a new way to find my value. I love this spread. This is a great spread. I hope it hits some of the marks. I genuinely do. Like, I hope it hits the parts that make you kind of go like, yep. And again, it's your story. You can tell me as much or as little as you want to here. But I just get the feeling that even if you were to place this into your workplace, right? Got it. So all of that ends up being connected to you. Like if you put it into a workplace, it's like, I poured everything into this place. What am I doing? Why am I fighting this battle? Why am I thinking about work all the time? Could be a detachment from that. Could be finding a new hobby, right? It could be a kid that like you just love to death, but you're just not going to fight with them anymore. Maybe your job is done with them, but you'll see them at the holidays. You'll catch up with them once a month, and you're going to find new things to take care of. All that stuff is really important. Hey, Cherie, how are you? Oh, am I frozen right now? Am I frozen out there? Because I'm not frozen here, and typically this reflects. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this off the stage. Yeah. But yeah, well, I'm not seeing anybody's comment. Okay, so I seem to be good. Okay. Might be your local provider. But Karen, thanks so much for joining us. I have one more to give, and I'm going to go with this one. Oop, I was trying to drop it there. Oh, to be sovereign. No, so it sounds like I did freeze a little bit, though. So, oh, to be sovereign. This is your journey in trying to figure out what you need. I'm here. I'm going to keep going because I'm actually recording just fine. So, apparently they don't like that I said something. By the way, how about Robert De Niro walking out and leading off his speech with, Trump? Listen, when you've pissed off the old guys, people that maybe at one time had been establishment, let's be honest, he was establishment. Good for him. All right, guys, where are we going here? Let's do a few more of these. Thank you, Michelle. So, it's my double holly. How about one of these for you, huh? I think we're due. Michelle, I don't know where this reading's going to go. I don't know where this reading's going to go. But here we go. Oh, I think you sent me an email. I have to look into that. That's a good reminder. Let me write this down. By the way, I've been having to go analog because I'm not in my... I'm trying to get away from technology. I just wrote down Michelle email. Tara. It's coming back online. Here we go. Thank you for liking my coffee mug. Wow. Heavy hitters. You got the Queen of Wands. Fight, fight, fight. Yes, Karen, thanks for joining us. The strength card. You know, I know that you know that I know that you know that I know what this is about. First of all, I want to share with you, if you take any tarot classes, make sure that the person teaching you knows what they're doing and regularly works with tarot. Just a sidebar. So I'd say that. I saw someone who was an old associate of mine suddenly pop up with her team of tarot people, and I'm here to tell you they don't even touch tarot unless you hand it to them. Maybe they talk to angels. Yes, Cap. I just haven't had a chance to just sit and go through email. I'm going to be doing that tonight into tomorrow and then Wednesday. So Queen of Wands really is about the girding up your loins, figuratively and literally, and then knocking it out of the park with passion. By the way, doesn't that sunflower mean something to you here, Michelle? Like, I don't know, purifying radiation? Just let that sink in. Then you have the strength card, right? We're cheering you on. By the way, my feed, I really needed to change what I was getting in my feed, and now my feed is flush with wild animal retrievement, and bringing them back to health and releasing them into the wild. You don't have to cry. I am dehydrated at this point, right? And then the Wheel of Fortune talks about your fate, your resolve. You're meant to go through it. You will sustain it. There is purpose. All right, Snoopy, talk to us. The Magician. First of all, if this was a New Year's Eve reading, if this was a Brandon After Dark reading, which, by the way, I might try one of those. Wouldn't that be funny? And then I just curse like a sailor, watch all my numbers go flying up, and then the rest of you are like, I like the PG-13 Brandon. He drops a few hells and damns, but that was the one thing my mom said to me years ago. She said, I know you know every swear word, and you brandish most of them. However, a few hells and damns make a point. If you use them all the time, they lose their meaning. Don't ever lose your meaning. Yeah, I'll come out and I'll wear some sort of a one-piece bodysuit. You know, the kind that shows scars. You can't see the scar, but you know it's there. I don't drink cognac. Trucker mouth, Brandon. You have no idea. Oh. So this is somebody coming from above giving you strength. Got the Knight of Pentacles, the strong offer. That's the plan. That's going through everything. That's coming out the other side. And then, can't make this up. The Wheel of Fortune with the Wheel of Fortune. I feel like I'm milking a giant cow when I do that. You know I'm making fun of with that, right? Now, Michelle, look at this read. You have the power to heal from within. You also have the ability to cultivate the magic that you need to get through whatever it is you need to get through. Now, this Wheel of Fortune tells me one of three things. One, you've doubled down on the lesson. You might have skipped it in the previous life, double down in this one. Number two, you've been through it more than once. Or number three, you are affecting the outcomes of other people that you are sharing this life with. Michelle, please give me a number between 1, let's say 30. So that I can draw a card out of this. Right? If you could, if you're still on, and I think you are. But I think that this is also giving you permission. First of all, it takes the blame game. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check yourself before you tech yourself. Oh, I kind of like that. Now, why would you check yourself? Why would that be a good advice to this? You went through it on your own. One of the things that I've noticed, let me say something about the tech stuff here. AI is the enemy here. Yes, it's regimes, and yes, it's oligarchs, and yes, it's secrets in the dark and all that stuff. But if we leave our creativity on the board, we're in trouble. I'm pouring myself another drink. It's not all coffee around here. I have to cut back on the coffee. A little seltzer helps me burp. Anyways, AI is the challenge because we're giving away our creativity. And AI is cool in some places. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we can't have fun. We can't have nice things. But when it comes right down to it, be creative and be yourself. Now, apply that to your healthcare. Apply it to the idea that you have to take it on yourself and you have to become whatever it is that you're tackling. That's what the spread is, kids. And oh, by the way, now apply it to your government. Now apply it to your work life. Now apply it to your romantic endeavors. It takes intestinal fortitude to get to where it is you need to. I love this poll for you, kid. Oh, look at that. 825 NTW. Nice. Nice. Yeah, I'll do one at like 11 o'clock at night. Somebody up in New Brunswick or Nova Scotia will still be freaking up. And somebody on the West Coast will still be up. Mashed potato dance will be ruined. Yeah, it might be. It might be. Michelle, always love to see you stop by. Jotted down our stuff. I just got to get caught up, guys. I just haven't been in. Stuff with dad, stuff with doctors. You guys know. Getting back into the swing of things. By the way, I took a 45-minute nap this morning after I dropped the boys off. Sometimes you just need it, man. And I probably would have slept longer, but I had a foot appointment. It was funny. It's fun. I'm so glad you're bringing that up. Sometimes the caffeine actually used to help me sleep. Now it messes with me a little bit. Let's do a couple more here. Newfoundland. I don't know. All I know is that if the British get squirrely, you're it. New member Cherie. Is he still the one? I hope you're still here. I hope it wasn't freezing on you. Hey, Haiti, how are you? Oh, Cindy, I saw some of your other stuff too there. Yeah, Melanie, it's all about that right now. And listen, after nearly dying with this whole thing, I'm in. All right, Cherie, this is for you. I don't know if you're still on. I think you were a little frustrated with the freeze in there. Yeah, hang on a second, Haiti. Let me get this one squared away. Ace of Wands, something new here. Ladies. Keep shuffling. With the Ace of Swords. Jesus Christmas, Brandon. And then the King of Swords. Wowzers! How we doing, everybody? Now, the Ace of Wands, along with the Knight of Pentacles, didn't we just have this? Oh, and then we got the 10 of Swords. And then we got the Lovers. All right. Cherie, I hope you check up on this later. Because I have a feeling you took off. Because I saw a bunch of people leave and I started to freeze a little bit. But this is a message from your husband. Just to let you know. And again, full disclosure, Cherie has been to some retreats. She's one of my favorite people. And she politely redirected me when I said Sherry. And she goes, it's Cherie. I goes in like chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim Cherie. She goes, if that's how you remember it. Also, we have to protect Julie Andrews at all costs. We cannot go without Julie Andrews, just to let you know. She's the reason why I like to corrupt nuns. Anyways, Ace of Wands along with the Knight of Pentacles means that this is a true value of change, of I am who you are. Solid offer came through. Then you have the Ace of Swords, and then you have the 10 of Swords, even though there's spades there. The 10 of Swords is 100% look at this as the things that are changing, the things that are here, but don't overthink it. You could be burdened, right? Then you've got the King of Swords, along with the Lovers. I don't have to explain the Lovers, but I do have to explain that the Lovers card is actually a choice card. And free will means that you chose him. And maybe it wasn't as emotionally deep as the Reservoir would have liked. That doesn't mean anything. By the way, I'm going to send Cherie a note. There we go. Cherie, from your husband, your reminder is ruthless compassion. Brilliant cards. Damn, I love what I do. I don't want to say how good I am at it because you already know. Just having fun now. Yeah, by the way, Brandon After Dark is full Leo. And you'll just be like, halfway through it, you'll be like, he's not wearing pants. Wait, let me fix the light. Don't stand up! Cherie, I hope you enjoyed your reading. Where do we go here? Somebody was asking something about their, she's 324. He's 711. Oh, we're not going to do a full astrology. I'll pull some cards, though, for him. Here we go. Oh! All right. Hey, you come here, sit next to me. Now, there comes a time in everybody's life where you grow up a little bit. And listen, the innocence of a peck on the cheek, and you know there's something else behind it, but you just hope it stays to the pit. Oh, he cares about her. The only reason like two people are going to move out and into their own places, well, they want to make breakfast for each other. And again, we're not going to talk about the details. Brandon After Dark would. But I'm going to say, you want to make sure that this guy is going to make sure that there's always stuff to make breakfast. Let's just put it there. Right? So through those lenses, and what I'm picking up on is that you are equally as worried about this going sideways for the reasons that you don't fully understand the relationship yet. And we don't have to. And by the way, Mom, it's not any of our business, sort of. But her well-being is every bit of this. So instead of worrying about them, I would be worried about what's in the refrigerator. So maybe the way that you talk about their relationship is, do you have things for the refrigerator? Because you can't help the emotional thing. She has to go through this. But you can drop off eggs. You can make sure that they have what they need on the basic terms of, if we can sit down and have a meal together, we can talk. You would encourage this relationship that way. That's just my gut feeling out of the gate. But Haiti, let's talk about the cards here. You ready? Something's telling me to keep these clean right now. All right, here we go. Oh, so this tells me the young gentleman, as you know, what was on the other night was the thing you do. Young squire, young squire. Why is there a girl crying in my hotel? Well, you might want to go help her. Page of Wands is actually a really optimistic card for this. This means that they are really connected. And listen, the Page of Wands doesn't know what they're doing, right? They just don't know what they're doing. They're kind of like, I know I have one. I don't know what it does yet. Oh, to be young. Oh, he better treat her like a queen. She's expensive. I'm getting the feeling like your daughter's a little expensive. And listen, let's want her. So this is the suitor combo. By the way, is she slightly older than him? Maybe not significantly, but just enough. Just a question that's kind of indicated here in the cards. You can answer as we go along. Oh, upside down. Okay. We got some good news. We got some fun news. We got some news. I'll start with the They're going to realize really quick that this is not a fairy tale. Yeah, he's 1 year younger. That's all we needed. And by the way, wet behind the ears. I didn't know. I thought National Grid was trying to sell me insurance. I didn't know it was a bill. You see where I'm getting at? A little inexperience here. By the way, the Ten of Wands in reverse is undoing the burden of things. I think that he is going to find some of the things that I think he's going to recognize. I think where the patience needs to be is he doesn't know what he's doing. Right? A little too carefree. Oh, she's 1 year younger. All right. But the Ten of Wands in reverse is kind of him going, I've got it. Don't worry. We're good. And her going, I don't have to worry about anything. I'm just going to be a princess. We all know that that's not how relationships work long term. That doesn't mean that he can't do the dishes and mow the lawn, right? But what it does mean is that here's the part where I'm going to say, here's the end part. They might have a tough lesson in this, thinking that, you know, like I don't know where my car is. Oh my God, they wanted me to pay them back. Like there's something here where he's just missing like a key thing in life where many of us know, but he may or may not have had the proper teachers to show him that, or at least he's ignored proper teachers to get him there. Star-crossed lovers. I knew you were going to like this. When the star comes out, it means that there's a bigger purpose here. My guess is that they were born in the late 99s, early 2000s. I get 04 with this one. I don't know who's in April. Is somebody in April, or is this in 2004? No. Answer if you can. But the star card is definitely about laying out that there is some level of destiny for the two of them. That they're not going to lose 96, 97. Okay. That there is nothing. I don't know who's in April. They said 4. They've been together 4 months, 4 years, 4 days. You've done a little. We've known each other forever. You spend one Christmas together and they think it's there. She's March. Okay, so is she at the end of March? Is she March 23rd? Just out of curiosity. But yeah, the Aries would kind of be signifier for 4 for me too. Yeah, year and a half. The 24th, I'll take it. My mom's birthday was the 23rd, that's why. So she's in Aries. That's signifier here for the fourth sign of the year. The Empress card. I've done it twice tonight. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I'm on fire. The Empress on the Empress means that she's just going to double down. This princess is getting herself some golden hay. And by the way, not only have we had the star card, but the Empress card, the crown and the Empress right up here, the Pleiades. I don't know if she drives a Subaru, but it might be a nice car for her. And then, oh, I love this. The Ace of Cups, true love. We're gonna make it. I think I just went Barry Manilow. I don't know. Based on the spread, it does mean, I mean, listen, the reverse burden is like they're going to break cycles. So they struggle a little bit. Not a bad thing. They'll get through it. It really will. But the Ace of Cups on that, those lessons are good. They're going to grow closer. Right? And I'm going to put 31 on this. So she's the 97. So she's going to turn 31 this year. Yeah. She's 29 then. 31, it all clicks, kid. The song is about a breakup. Oh, Jesus. Don't let the facts get in the way of a good conversation, Belle. Give me number 1 to 30, if you could there, Haiti. Let's get you a good card. Hey, Kelly, we talked about the class tomorrow. Look for my email. I'm going to have a video in there. I'm going to remind you to bring a deck of cards. Song's about a breakup. By the way, the movie I haven't seen yet is the Song Sung Blues. I am absolutely going to go to that. 60. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We need you back, buddy. Yay! I love this. Do you think it's going to go quick? Whoosh. Your girl's in love and there ain't nothing you can do about it. She is getting picked up. She is waiting for her pumpkin. She is waiting for her glass slipper. She is waiting for the sun to go down so she can show him what an ogre she really is. I like this relationship a whole bunch. I think you should be happy. I think you should know that they are going to go through the stuff that we all go through. Yeah, I was thinking about this. The first time I moved out, I lived off of soup and not ramen. I actually didn't care for ramen all that much. Probably the reason why I still have my kidneys. But I lived off of ramen I lived off of soup because it was something that I could make and it was warm. And I was in this 1-bedroom apartment that had electric heat. So I wouldn't turn on the heat until I got home. And then I would crank it up and then turn it off again before I went to sleep so I wouldn't be stuck with a $400 bill. I think I've told this story before. And then somewhere in the month of February, the landlord called me and said, I'm going to knock $50 off your... And by the way, my bill was like $8 a month, $22 a month. I think my November was like 28. This is her 5th move with other people. I think she found a winner though. Is he the J? Who's the J in all of this? I don't know who the J is. But anyways, So he knocks off the rent so that I turn it up. But I have to tell you, like, the feeling that I get with these two is they're going to have that moment where they're like, what do we actually spend our money on? And I was thinking about being in that spot where I just lived off of Campbell's soup, and I'd get a half a gallon of milk because I didn't drink it fast enough and it would go bad. Or I'd make myself eggs. Like I was sufficient, but I wasn't whatever. And then I would like get frozen pizzas, right? French bread, Stouffer's. Stop me if you're not in love right now. Sometimes I get the supreme, but oftentimes I was perfectly okay with the pepperoni. And honestly, it would go pepperoni, 4 cheese, supreme, just to let you know. By the way, when I would do a pizza, it was because it was freezing, and the oven would kickstart the heat and thing. By the way, you're not supposed to turn on the oven and leave the door open. I don't know why I'm giving you that advice right now. Well, listen, sometimes people, this is something for us to understand, that generation, plus or minus 2000, 5 years either way. They have a very distinct need to understand that they have a mission, and we don't get it. And we won't get it until they show it. So there's that. Guys, thank you so much. I've got some desk work to do. If I promised you an email, you'll be getting it. If I promised you a rose garden, wait till spring. If I promised that I would start a revolution, it's already here. Be good trouble. I am swimming in the shirt. It's delicious. I love it. And everything about this, nobody's commenting, but that's okay. Hard caps, guys. Thanks so much. I'll see you tomorrow night if you sign up for the class. I'll see you in 2 weeks after that. You'll see me again a little bit later on this week, and I have a surprise. What is it, Brandon? The United States has been through a lot of change, but not us. We are keeping the penny. Keep going.